Hello, this is Deborah Kendrick, Senior Features Editor with Access World, the access technology publication of the American Foundation for the Blind. I'm here to talk to you about tools and tips for maintaining brain health at any age, with or without vision, with little or no technological expertise. We hear a lot about the importance of exercise, staying active as we grow older to maintain health. But staying active is not just for our bodies. It's essential that we keep our brains active as well for good health and longevity. I'm going to talk about some widely available services for blind and low vision people of any age that should have particular appeal for seniors who are new to vision loss because they are so easily used. First, I'll tell you a little about myself and the context in which I use the tools I'm going to be discussing. I'm a professional writer, and I have been completely blind since I was 5 years old. As a writer, it's essential to be able to look up words, definitions, facts, do general research, and access voluminous amounts of information and material. I'm happy to say that while that was extremely difficult when I began my work in the 80s, today, anyone who can talk and use a telephone, essentially, can get the information that they need in any form. I'm going to tell you about 3 services in particular and how they relate to accessing news and entertainment. You will probably already be familiar with one or all of these, but I am going to talk about them in some new ways. I'm going to talk about the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, particularly with regard to its magazine collection. I am going to talk about NFB Newsline, which is a free service of the National Federation of the Blind, and I'm going to talk about a popular commercially available product, the Amazon Echo. When an older adult loses vision, the 2 things that come to mind immediately with regard to loss are the freedom to travel independently, driving a car, and the freedom to access information, reading print. I'm not going to talk about driving today, but I am going to talk about all of those little casual ways in which we access information with a glance. First of all, of course, there are newspapers and magazines. Then you need a recipe, so you grab a cookbook off the shelf and you flip through the pages for any recipe that will use up that asparagus that has to be cooked today. Or you hear an unfamiliar word in a television or radio program and you want to know what that word means or how you spell it, so you grab a dictionary off the shelf. Maybe you want to know a little bit more about a country featured in the news, so you go to your encyclopedia or another reference tome in your home library. All of these things are now so easy to do without much technology at all and with very little skill. First, let's talk about magazines. The National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled was created by law in the 1930s to distribute Braille and recorded materials to originally people who are blind and now to people who have other print-related disabilities. If you are a United States citizen and you are blind or have a print-related disability, you qualify, and you can go to www.loc.gov/NLS for an application. While you may well be familiar with the wonderful collection of recorded books available from the National Library Service, what many people are not aware of is that there is also a wonderful magazine collection. Many of the magazines that you see every day at the grocery store are available in recorded format from NLS, such as The New Yorker, Atlantic, People, Sports Illustrated, several computer magazines, news magazines such as The Nation, The Week, National Review, popular general interest magazines such as Oprah, Reader's Digest, and more.
This magazine contains 92 pages. Approximate reading time, 2 hours, 10 minutes. Table of contents. Chatter. Editor's letter. Star tracks. Scoop. Passages. Stories to make you smile.
As you could hear, I was skipping from one article to the next, and if we had listened longer, each article gives the approximate reading time, so you know if an article is 5 minutes long or 20 minutes long, so you can hear the title or maybe the first paragraph to decide if this is something you want to listen to or not, just as you would do when you're flipping through the glossy pages of your favorite magazine in print. This is the same magazine, and it has the same flexibility in terms of browsing and perusing that you would have holding that print magazine in your hand. I happen to be playing this from an iPhone where I have downloaded it, but you can listen to this and any other magazine from NLS on the same talking book player that is given to each patron by the regional library. Or if you fill out the application on the NLS site for the download service, which is quite easy to do, you can then download it to a cartridge or a flash drive for playing on that same machine, or to a wide variety of mobile devices such as iPhones, Android phones, Kindle Fire, Victor Stream products, and several other devices. As a segue to talking about the next tool, NFB Newsline, I'll share an example from my own experience of how I pulled these services together. In May, there was a special pandemic issue of the AARP magazine. I had downloaded it to my iPhone from NLS Bard, and I was listening to an article about individuals in the very first examples of COVID-19 in the United States. And the article talked about a 104-year-old man who was one of the first diagnosed cases. He was ill, he recovered, he's still alive and well. And another example of an early case was a 52-year-old person who became ill from COVID-19 and died. I wanted their names, and I could not guess how to spell them by listening to the human recording of this magazine. So I went to NFB Newsline, which again is a telephone service that offers hundreds of newspapers and magazines, and among its collection is the same magazine, AARP. I went to the May issue, found the same article, and by navigating through the article with my phone's keypad, just a plain, ordinary telephone keypad, I got to the article and to the paragraph with their names and pressed #5 on my keypad in order to hear how the names were spelled.
Welcome to NFB Newsline.
Para continuar en español, aprieta 2.
NFB Newsline is provided by the National Federation of the Blind along with state sponsors.
Newsline offers hundreds of national and local newspapers, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, as well as small town and large city newspapers, various other sources of news such as the Associated Press, and then it has magazines. And there are several categories of magazines, from news magazines to home magazines, cooking magazines, computer magazines. I thought it would be fun to show that there are also some children's magazines. This is for children who are subscribers to Newsline, or for a grandparent to listen to a children's magazine with a favorite grandchild. So here is Newsline reading from the August issue of Highlights magazine, Highlights for Children.
Turning a corner and suddenly finding a giant troll along the path. That's an experience many kids around the world can have, thanks to artist Thomas Nambo. You can read about him and see photos of his trolls in the Troll Maker, pages 22 to 27. I can't decide what I like best about this story. Is it the magnificent trolls themselves? Is it that all the trolls are made from recycled materials? Or is it that the Troll Maker's love of creating art from discarded items began when he was a kid?
Again, Newsline is completely controlled by your telephone keypad. You can call from a landline, a cordless phone, a cell phone, any phone that you're comfortable with. And from the keypad, you choose which publication you want to listen to, which section of that publication. You can jump by article, jump by paragraph. As I indicated earlier, you can stop and find out how a word is spelled. If you have email, you can have an article emailed to yourself by just pressing a key on your keypad. And you can alter the voice. So if you prefer a female voice, a higher voice, a lower voice, and you can alter the pitch and the speed of the voice on Newsline. Again, Newsline is free to anyone who has blindness, low vision, or another print disability. And you can apply for Newsline by calling 866-504-7300. The third source of news, information, and entertainment that I'm going to talk about is not free, as is the National Library Service and NFB Newsline, but it is extremely affordable. The Amazon Echo and Google Assistant are two commercially available products that sell for under $50, frequently on sale for as low as $30. Each of these is a voice assistant product that you simply use your voice to get information. In each case, you can find out the time, the temperature, the weather report, news from thousands of radio stations. You can find out what's on television tonight. But again, going back to those quick at-a-glance print references that we miss when we lose sight as older adults, I'm going to use a couple examples of quick reference. Let's say I'm listening to an article from the New Yorker and the word conundrum is used, and I can't quite remember what that word means. Alexa, define conundrum.
Conundrum is usually defined as a riddle, the answer to which involves a pun or play on words, as what is black and white and read all over. A newspaper. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for conundrum.
Spell conundrum.
Conundrum is spelled C-O-N-U-N-D-R-U-M.
Or maybe I'm writing an email message and I want synonyms. Alexa, synonyms for hilarious.
Synonyms for hilarious, meaning very funny, include uproarious, humorous, or lively.
Or from the Google Assistant, okay Google, give me antonyms for ridiculous.
Here are some antonyms for ridiculous, serious, sensible, reasonable.
If you'd like to do a little research, you can ask for Wikipedia. Alexa, Wikipedia Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Here's the Wikipedia article on Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, baptized as Johannes Chrysostomus Wolfgangus Theophilus Mozart, was a prolific and influential composer of the classical period. Would you like me to keep reading?
But you could continue to read, sometimes for several minutes, detailed information on your chosen subject. Maybe you want to know how to do a thing. You can ask, Alexa, open WikiHow. How do you cut and roast cauliflower?
How to roast cauliflower. To roast cauliflower, start by removing the stem and leaves off of the cauliflower head, and then cut the head into 4 quarters. Next, drizzle olive oil, add spices, and toss the cauliflower to coat it uniformly. Spray a baking sheet with non-stick cooking spray and spread the florets out in an even layer. Then, drizzle any remaining oil or spices on top of the cauliflower, and roast in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes at 425.
WikiHow is a great and entertaining source for just about anything, from how to prepare certain food types to probably how to wrap a gift or tie your shoe. If you want a recipe for a specific type of food, you can ask the Amazon Echo or the Google Assistant for recipes as well. Hey Google, give me a recipe for salmon.
I already have the recipe you were making called garlic butter baked salmon from Cafe Delights. Would you like to start with ingredients or instructions?
Ingredients.
There are 12 ingredients. You can ask for the next ingredient or skip to the instructions. The first ingredient is 1 pound, 500 grams, fingerling potatoes, halved, or Yukon Golds or halved white, red baby potatoes.
Of course, we also use our ability to read printed information for fun. We use it to play games or to flip through a pile of CDs to select our favorite music. With just your voice, you can do that sort of thing with the Amazon Echo or Google Assistant as well. You can ask for songs by Frank Sinatra or Pete Seeger, or you can ask for the complete soundtrack of Camelot or Hamilton, or you can ask for a mix of songs from the 60s or 70s or 80s. If you don't want to play a game that builds your vocabulary or test your knowledge of trivia, if you don't want to listen to a magazine or a newspaper or a radio station, there are still plenty of other things that you can do with just your voice with one of these smart speakers. Wrapping up this conversation about brain health and maintaining your brain, did you know that your brain weighs between 3 and 4 pounds? Did you know that your brain began evolving 600 million years ago? Did you know that your brain is the only object that contemplates itself? If you're wondering where I learned such trivial factoids, the answer is that I got them from one of my favorite podcasts. And podcasts are a limitless source of news and entertainment available on the Amazon Echo and other smart speakers as well. Whether your interest is pop culture or politics or cooking or woodworking or gardening or singing or learning to play the piano, there are certainly podcasts of interest. Ask your smart speaker for podcasts on the subject of blindness and low vision or blindness and aging, because there are plenty of those as well. No matter how old you are when you lose your vision, it is essential to keep your brain active, and in the 21st century, there is no limit to the ways in which you can access information, news, and entertainment, and maintain your brain health. Thanks for listening.
Deborah Kendrick. Her email address is D as in dog, KK 33709 @outlook.com.